Well, here we are on a Friday afternoon. Welcome to Weather or Not. This is the Friday going right into the Labor Day holiday, Brian. And we've been talking about a slow-moving low-pressure system. That reminds me, I don't think I have that graphic of the turtle to signify that it is a slow-moving system, but I'll bring that in sometime during the show. It's something I have to do during one of the breaks.
Yeah, it's a Perry Groten request, right?
Oh, that's right.
You forget about that? Yeah, during the show. So, yeah, you made this turtle graphic. When was this? That was actually 2 weekends.
A couple of weekends. It was the last low-pressure system that we had that moved through that was very slow. Yeah. So I just saved the graphic and reuse it. And Perry's working tomorrow morning. I'll be working tomorrow morning. I'll use it then.
Yeah, and then maybe I'll steal it from you on Sunday morning.
That's fine.
We kind of borrow graphics back and forth.
Yeah, because, by Sunday it will be, central South Dakota, if that far?
Slow. Yeah, and that's why we do things like this, to illustrate or to tell the story of the weather. And I know many of you are watching this and thinking, okay, what are the rain chances this weekend? We've got plans. I'm with you on that. We've got some of our family going camping this weekend, and my girls will not be happy with Dad if it's raining the whole time. So I said, no, you're going to be okay. We're going to, get some camping in, but there could be a little rain the first half of the weekend. They're pretty much done, though, on Sunday. Okay. So that means Dad has
They're done camping on Sunday.
Correct. Okay. So if it's Sunday morning and I got to pack up the tent, I'm like, well, then if it rains Sunday afternoon, I'm off the hook.
But you mentioned yesterday that it rains when you go camping.
Usually. But
you should be able to pick the days when it doesn't rain.
This is not my camp out per se. It's still with their troop, with the girls that go out. So Dad kind of comes along. I do a few things with them, and then I go back home. So
is this every Labor Day that the troop goes out?
For my girls. Yeah, they've done this now for at least 3 or 4 years, I want to say.
Okay, so good.
Yeah, it used to be my Labor Day weekends were pretty quiet, and now it's like, oh yeah, we're going to go camping. Or some of us
you're
are.
Like, well, you know what Scott says about Labor Day weekend and Memorial weekend.
Yeah, you've got your rain, your conventional rain chance in there.
Oh, definitely.
It works out sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, that is something I should have done. I should have looked back at the calendar and seen or checked on when we've had the rain come through on these 3-day holiday weekends. So we have that to look forward to. Rain amounts. I quickly put something together about Huron on rain amounts so far this month, and they could add to it. Much cooler air comes in midweek. That is something we talked a lot about during KELOLAND this morning, and we'll finish up with the pattern. There's a lot to talk about on this latest edition of Weather or Not. Stay with us. Welcome back to Weather or Not. Something I have to get used to, I have to get in the habit of doing is after we go through the outline is to check the weather forecast. So we'll do that now. As we are following that slow-moving low-pressure system, showers and thunderstorms, we already had those this morning, northwestern into central South Dakota. We'll see how far east the rain chances go. East of the James River Valley, I think we'll have a harder time during the first half of the weekend. Better time to get these rain chances to move through, probably for the second half of the weekend, Sunday, even extending into Monday. But for this evening, showers, thunderstorms, central, north central into parts of western South Dakota, and a lot of the activity trying to set up into Nebraska, where there is a marginal risk now for severe weather. So that is something that we'll have to monitor as we go through the day today. There's that marginal risk across south central South Dakota, as thunderstorms are expected to develop later this afternoon and for the early evening. Temperatures for today, close to 80, central, eastern KELOLAND, a little cooler into western South Dakota. You see the middle 70s in Rapid City. Tonight, showers, thunderstorms, western, central, and the south central South Dakota. Again, we'll see how far into southeastern South Dakota they make it. We threw in that chance for rain. Mitchell toward Yankton, Sioux Falls, mainly dry during the overnight hours as temperatures fall to the upper 50s and the lower 60s. That's a look at your Friday forecast for this holiday weekend. Let's go ahead and check the rest of the weekend, as I do want to bring in Brian Karstens. We talked about your plans that you have for camping with the girls and their troop. Unfortunately, there may be some rain to contend with, but the timing of it may be in your favor, too.
Yeah, the timeline is definitely still delayed for Sioux Falls, our eastern areas. What we think is happening here is that we can fit some rain chances kind of, let's say, widely scattered, or these hits of rain that can kind of sprout out from the low pressure circulation. But if you're looking at the most likely areas to get the most repeated showers and thunderstorms, it's going to be this area in yellow. And over an inch is a great foundation to build the forecast.
Place to start.
Yeah.
But you've noticed that we have some isolated areas that can get well over an inch.
Well, right. And this is not just a one and done, just something sporadic. We've seen within our internal modeling that we're doing here at the station, some of these local areas, probably 2, 3, 4 inches of rain could happen if you line up thunderstorms over the same counties. That's the key here. You got to have repeated thunderstorms. You're not going to get all that in one dumping. But, as the timeline goes, since this is all stalling, that's a clue here that, okay, that this isn't moving anywhere. It's going to sit around today, tonight, tomorrow, part of Sunday, even for some of us, even into Labor Day. So that's why, again, we start with some foundational pieces here. This is kind of showing the same thing you had, Scott, here off of the raw European model data. Basically, Nebraska, a little bit more on that side. And, we can look at a whole collection of things, but they all, generally speaking, have the same northwest to southeast orientation. And here's another one. And that one that's an in-house model that we have here at the station that, it's trying to be more aggressive on some 1 to 2s. And just as we're sitting here, I'm looking at some brand new data still supporting every bit of that.
And we've already had some amounts even this morning coming in at, a half inch?
Oh, yeah.
Is that near Redfield?
A couple spots up there, even more than 3/4.
Okay.
So some of the rain gauges, and the rain's been pretty efficient today so far northwest of Pier. So I think we're off and running here. We're going to have more of this working in. And by the way, as this program airs this afternoon, we're in the process of watching South Central South Dakota. Those cells could get rather rambunctious too. So do keep all of that in mind here. But remember, it's not a solid line of rain that's just going to move east. It's not going to do that. It's going to stall, and it's going to circulate around that low. So that's important to have, that perspective when you watch the radar.
And here is that low pressure system. Now, this is fast forwarding into tomorrow. So this is tomorrow morning into the afternoon at 2 o'clock. It's almost showing those same areas in the western, central, and south central South Dakota. Showers and thunderstorms, eastern KELOLAND. Not everybody in eastern KELOLAND will be dry, but I think many locations will end up being dry. Saturday evening, western, central, south central South Dakota, still looking at our rain. That continues into the early evening hours. And then as low pressure slowly, and I mean slowly, moves to the southeast on Sunday, a lot of this shows up into eastern Nebraska. As we get into your Sunday morning, we'll see what wraps around that area of low pressure as it eventually settles across east central Nebraska as we get into the afternoon on Sunday. Might be able to bring in a couple of scattered showers, isolated thunder showers in the eastern South Dakota, Minnesota, and Iowa. Later in the afternoon, Sunday, going into Sunday evening. And then we'll see what lingers for Monday. We could still have a couple of lingering showers on Monday. Maybe as far west as, say, central KELOLAND, though I do think a lot of that will show up across eastern South Dakota, Minnesota, and Iowa. So we do have more rain on the way. And speaking of rain, here's a look at what we've had so far this month. We are around 1.5 inches in Rapid City, and they'll add to that, which is good news. Western, southwestern South Dakota can use more rain. See Pine Ridge coming in at 1/2 inch, Valentine at 1 inch, so they can definitely use the rain that's coming this weekend in western and southwestern South Dakota. Then as you look to the east, let's go ahead and pick on Huron. Close to 7 inches of rainfall. Watertown at over 5 inches. But let's keep Huron going here because we're at a new August record when it comes to rain with that 6.88. And with the rain that's coming for the next couple of days, the scattered nature of it, we'll see if we can get over 7 for the month. We think that we easily may start to see that with our shower chances that we have going into the weekend. But keep in mind, it only goes out to Sunday. last day of August. So
Last day, right.
We'll have to watch those numbers in east central South Dakota as they'll continue to follow rain chances for this weekend. And I think the next thing we have in the lineup is that cooler air that's expected to come. Should we talk about this after the break?
I think the audience would enjoy, maybe not. I don't know. We'll let people decide what they think about this. So we'll have that coming up.
Okay, so it's either, I like doing this, one of these. Okay, not liking it. Or if you're tired of the heat, get a round of applause.
That's right.
Okay.
I like it.
I had to sneak that in. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Whether or Not. It's Friday, so this is the last block we have, Brian,
Okay.
for the show. And then we could start our holiday weekend.
Finish strong, right?
Yes. Let's
All
go
right.
ahead and do that. But we're talking about colder air coming in as we get into the, about midweek of next week. First couple of days of September. Of course, Labor Day will have temperatures at or maybe above average, depending on how much cloud cover we have. And this is a graphic I've been using, I think, all week, maybe even extending back to last week. Any word you want to use to describe the temperatures that are coming in. Cooler, cold, chilly. Any way you look at it, the numbers will be below average. What is your go-to word for what's expected to happen?
Well,
here?
my opinion on this has changed a little bit because at first I'm more reserved on the word cold because I feel like that should be a winter term, but people like to use it anyway, no matter what. I mean, it is what it is. But honestly, given the fact that what we're noticing on the trend line here is that there's more wind, the temperature has dropped even more than yesterday on some of the projections. And it probably will be rainy at times at some point here. So I'm going to even toss in the word blustery.
Okay.
I think blustery is going to really be the adjective that would, in my opinion, probably describes it. But
What did you use this morning? Crock pot weather.
crock pot weather, absolutely. You're going to go from grilling to, we're not grilling. This is too cold.
Give it a couple of days after the cold air comes in, and then you could go back out and use the grill because temperatures will warm again.
Can you imagine if we get to Wednesday? Now, our forecast, okay, so here's why you're watching this show. Forecast right now is in the upper 60s, mid to upper 60s.
Yes, we kept those numbers this morning during KELOLAND this morning, right? We didn't
Correct.
change those.
Correct. And that's still a weighted average. That's, looking at all the possibilities, that's still below normal. You look at average. But the operational run of this is actually off the AI version of the European model was showing, and you've got some of the numbers up here. There's some 50s for highs in there.
That green there, where that you see the 60s right there, that probably hit that point of that yellow going up in the north central South Dakota. That should be 50s. This is in the afternoon on Wednesday, where you have that green. That's something that we pointed out to each other this morning, looking behind the scenes. It's really interesting. When we go through KELOLAND this morning, yes, we're on air for 3 to 5 minutes, sometimes a little bit more, talking about the weather. That's the weather that you see on your TV screens or your computer monitor at home. But then we're having discussions when we're not on camera too.
Oh, all
as
the
we're
time.
looking at the model information that's coming in. So sometimes we'll say, "Oh, we talked about this behind the scenes."
Yep. There's always new things coming into play, even during the course of the show. So we always feel the flexibility to, if we see something new that's interesting, we'll mention it. And likewise on this program too. And these are all variables. And you brought this up, the whole idea about some wind. If we get a 30 to 40 mile an hour wind behind temperatures in the, let's just say, let me throw out 58 degrees.
Okay.
So I was just thinking as we were talking here, when was the last time Sioux Falls had a high temperature at 58? If I'm doing my math correctly, it looks like May 27th, we had a high of 59. And then you have to go back to May 21st, and we had a high temperature. And again, I'm just looking at this just right off the charts here. That was a high of 51 or 2? Yeah, 52. We had some 30s for lows in there too, by the way.
Isn't that something?
So
at the end of May, when you go into Memorial Weekend holiday, now we're,
Right.
Obviously next week, September, after Labor Day, those numbers are fairly close to each other.
And it comes in at that time when, okay, we're at the unofficial end of summer, and then it's like, here's a front, and here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the good news is we're gonna rebound after this. Whatever happens next week will come off of that. I am a little concerned about if we could get into some frost in some areas of the upper Midwest. If the wind stays up and the clouds are out, then that's harder to do. So
Right.
we can't really go there yet, but I think it's interesting when you brought this up, the forecast lows here.
Yeah, this is 40s, 50s, but this isn't labeled here into the hills. Notice the blue that's showing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably numbers in the 30s. Now, this will be for Thursday morning. So we think, the cold air will start to come in on Wednesday. We'll have rain, clouds, a lot of wind. We'll see what happens to the wind as we get into Wednesday night, Thursday morning, because if the winds do calm down and we start to clear, then our numbers could be colder than these numbers.
Yeah, and I do reserve that possibility because I know on my graphics machine here, this is the temperature anomaly graphic. So we talk about this quite a bit too, about how what I want you to see here is, first of all, the footprint, how big this covers. The upper Midwest, I mean, you have a huge area that's at least 10 to 15, if not more, degrees below normal. Some cases almost 20 degrees below average. And it's lasting, even there. Look at that. That takes you into Friday. It's going to be an interesting week of weather. And just so you know, we can plot some actual temperatures on here too. So let me bring in, just for fun, okay, this is looking at, I'll go back here. We'll go back to this Thursday morning. So see all those 40s in there, but there are some 30s in, North Dakota on a situation like that. And then it tries to do that second punch, and, we end up with a 39 in Sioux Falls that would be, a week out from tomorrow. Well, it's actually, exactly a week away. So it's been showing this the last few days. It keeps changing timeline parameters. Does it shift it a day early or delay? But the concept is definitely alive and well there, Scott.
And I remember during KELOLAND this morning, it must have been maybe Wednesday, when we really started to latch on to this cold air coming in for next week. I think it showed that 1-2 punch on the graphic that you had, the initial push coming in Wednesday, and then the second push on would be Saturday morning, which is when that 39 shows up for us.
Yes, and that's how you end up getting into more trouble. If you're going to start talking about early frost, is you usually have to have a 1-2 punch, because the first punch won't do it.
Well, that's when it's usually accompanied by a lot of wind. You're changing the profile of the atmosphere. You have probably cloud cover, precipitation in the forecast.
Yeah. So again, that's a conversation that we can have in the future. But just the fact that we have numbers like that. Oh, by the way, I want to show dew point too on this. Look at that. Look at all of those low to mid 30 dew points coming in from North Dakota. Now that should also grab your attention, because those are awfully low numbers, and a big chunk of the northern plains and upper Midwest are very low on moisture. So that allows those temperatures, if you have optimal conditions with light winds, clear skies, optimal radiational cooling, you can easily start getting some patchy frost in a pattern like that.
Go ahead and take that time bar and push it to the right, just to see if our dew points decide to return and where they return.
Yeah.
60s.
Isn't that something? Now that's next week. That's after all that cool weather. Then it goes back to this for a little while. We'll see what it does. But isn't that interesting that tongue of moisture comes right back at us? Of course, too, if you assume that, then you have to assume that there's some rain in there. And lo and behold, there it is.
There it is.
Yeah, little connection there. So that would be very, that's actually fits very well with our narrative, though, that you'd have a big high pressure sprawled out. Once the high goes by, then you get the return flow on the backside coming out of Kansas, and then that would give us some rain. That'd be that following week. But every run of the model is a little bit different. So, we're sitting here just having a little visit about this. But the fact that we're here again today talking about it, and if nobody else knows yet and gets surprised by this, see, then you can say, well, we watched this last.
We watched it on Whether or Not. You should watch it too.
Right. Well, we're going to give you, this is the early bird show. This is the show you're going to get the first inkling. And by the way, when it comes to winter weather and all of that's going to be here before you know it, this is going to be a good place to come because we can vent our ideas. Because we have different, every meteorologist comes to the table with, sometimes you'll say something and then I'll say something. And then when sometimes we'll have Jay and the other meteorologists too. And I always love that dialogue.
And these are discussions. They're not arguments.
No, we're very good.
Yes.
I think through the years we've had, and I always land on this, I think some of our best forecasting comes when we get together and share our perspectives on this. And that's why I think when you and I are together, it seems like you'll bring something up that I thought, oh yeah, that's interesting. I should look at that. And then we can come back and forth on something. And that's the best way to learn in life. A lot of times is the
bringing everybody together.
Yeah, the collaboration and what we find. So in weather, and we always like to answer questions too. If there's something that's, you're wondering why we talk about such and such a thing, just send us an email. We'd love to hear from you.
And we have that crawler on the bottom of the screen. You could send one to Brian. You could send one to myself. You could always send one to the Storm Center at KELOLAND.com. So there's a lot of avenues you can take with the emails here. But let's quickly end up with the pattern. We know things will be up and down over the next couple of weeks, and this better illustrates that too. We talked about a slow-moving low-pressure system for this weekend. And then notice that here's your Wednesday. Here's that cold air coming in with that upper level low into Canada. That's rather impressive, isn't it?
It is.
I mentioned to you, this is almost like, even this weekend, it's almost like a snowstorm to me. We have high trying to come in across northern Minnesota. We have a low pressure system slowly moving. And I always think of in the winter, if we get this northeast wind, we always say it's a dry wind, eats away our snow chances. That's more or less what's going on with our rain chances across eastern South Dakota because it's trying to bring in that drier air.
Yeah. And another little piece of something to watch, too, on this whole pattern is to see how far south the cold front actually makes it. Because in this time of the year, and maybe what I should do, I don't mean to sidetrack you here, Scott,
no,
but
go right ahead.
I was just kind of looking through the wind pattern for next week. This is our wind gust map. I'm going to pull this up right here. And actually, I want to do this too here. I want to actually put the wind speeds. So see this? This shows that, and I'll back up our timeline. So this goes back to Labor Day right there. And then you can actually see that north wind right there all the way into Texas. So this front, when it comes through, and even this temperature anomaly map with the colors, see that? The green, the blues, they go all the way south. So you can get cold front already in early September that can have that kind of power. And just file that one in the back of your mind.
Well, that reminds me of July. I think mid-July, we had that hit of cold air.
Yes,
and
we
it
did.
became widespread, not only for us, but across much of the country.
Yeah. The ability of fronts to develop when they do has been very significant. And so that is something in the fall season. As we progress the next 6 weeks, we're going to have more ability to see that. Look at that, too. Look at the snow up in Ontario.
Oh, yes.
That's cold stuff. That's a big deal. So a lot of things that we are just watching. Yeah, I knew that was coming. I know. There's somebody out there who's applauding that. But
I know.
But are you going to show that extended forecast with the snow product?
You mean this one? This is something that we showed yesterday. And I think out of the members that we have showing here, it added a couple to bring in some snow. And that goes out, it goes all the way out to almost mid-October. And then it starts to bring in, even one model wants to bring something in, at the end of September. So we'll see what happens. And this is something we'll probably visit many times on whether or not as we continue through this September going into meteorological fall. So It's always interesting to watch our patterns here as we do go through the changing of the seasons. That's all the time we have for this latest edition of Whether or Not. Thanks for joining us and have a great Labor Day weekend.